I have some good news and some bad news. Let's start with the bad news. Bitcoin still isn't nowhere near the $1 million as was predicted in November 2021. The good news is that the price for a brand new Samsung HW-Q950A has just dropped by 50%. So I just had to pick one up because I'm super curious to find out if it's really that good as all the positive reviews claim it is. To be honest, I really did not need a new soundbar. I have a good Sony HD-ST5000 here in my office and an actual 5.1.2 Dolby Atmos setup in the living room. But I'm also married, and even though my wife would never say it in my face, I know she really hates all those black boxes in her living room, and I think she would be very happy if we had a soundbar instead. So when I saw this deal, I said to myself, okay, let's order one and see if those 11.1.4 channels can convince me to give up my beloved clip speakers. This Samsung HW-Q950A is clearly no ordinary Dolby Atmos soundbar. It has a staggering amount of 22 drivers and 11.1.4 channels, divided over the bar, the subwoofer and 2 rear speakers. The number 4 in the channel count stands for the high channels, and this particular soundbar setup makes use of up-firing drivers. This means that it reflects the height effects of the ceiling. 2 of these drivers are in the soundbar and the other 2 are integrated in the rear speakers, which by the way are equipped with 3 drivers each. 1 front firing, 1 up firing and 1 driver that radiates out sound to the side in order to create a wider soundstage. As you can see, this soundbar has a ton of features and I could easily spend another 10 minutes talking about them. But I'm not going to do that because this soundbar has been around since 2021 and there are already plenty of videos on YouTube that do that. Today we're going to focus on what really matters, the sound performance. And we're going to use some of my favorite Dolby Atmos scenes and I will tell you exactly what I like and perhaps don't like when I play them on this soundbar. Unbroken is one of the first movies that came with Dolby Atmos, and some of the best sound effects appear already after about 2 minutes into the movie. In the beginning you see a squadron of American B-24 bombers approaching, and the Q950A does an excellent job at giving each propeller an individual spot in the soundstage. The following flak attack has a convincing thump to the explosions. Nevertheless, it's not quite as deep as my regular SVS PB1000 Pro. The overhead effects of the following attack by Japanese Zero fighter planes is incredibly good. Much better than I expected, given this is an up-firing system. In the past I've used the Vocal Atmos setup that also had up-firing speakers. Those were only integrated in the front speakers and you can really tell the difference. With the Vocal set the height effects remained a bit above the TV. With the Samsung however, the Atmos effects are floating through the entire room. Apart from the lows, this is easily the best sound performance I have ever experienced with this scene. Even the smallest details are clearly displayed throughout the sound of the roaring Japanese Zeros flying all over the place. Next is the opening scene of A Star is Born. This is not so much an action-packed scene, nevertheless, the sound engineer made this very interesting by giving each instrument its own space within the sound field. The result is a realistic separation of all the various sounds, such as the different instruments, Bradley's voice and the cheers of the crowd. This soundbar gives you the feeling that you're right there in the stadium enjoying a concert. Raising the volume to real-life rock concert levels is no problem either, and the Samsung never shows even the slightest hint of distortion. Very impressive indeed. Mad Max Fury Road is an action-packed movie with a very well engineered Atmos soundtrack. It even won Oscars for Best Achievement in Sound Mixing and Best Achievement in Sound Editing. My favorite Atmos demo scene starts at 26:46, right when Furiosa hits the compressor and enters a sandstorm. I've listened to this scene on quite a few different systems, and it's always a thrill. However, never before was the sound of the swirling sandstorm as realistic as with the Q950A. Those 22 drivers really make an enormous difference, and in order to match this kind of 3D surround sound with a regular speaker setup, you would have to invest a multitude of the amount of money that this soundbar costs. I would never recommend a soundbar for critical music listening. Nevertheless, you can really throw a party with this thing. It goes incredibly loud, and it's a fun experience to be surrounded by the music. Okay, it hasn't been easy and it took a couple of sleepless nights, but I've made up my mind and I replaced the Klipsch 5.1.2 setup in my living room with the Samsung Q950A. It's no surprise that the Samsung subwoofer is no match for the SVS PB1000 Pro, but everything else just sounds ridiculously good. The three-dimensional soundstage that the Samsung can produce is highly addictive, and apart from the ultra-low frequencies, it really outperforms anything that I've ever heard before. Besides that, it looks pretty good too, but most importantly, happy wife, happy life, right? And that's it. Thanks for watching, and if you like hi-fi, then here are 2 more videos that I'm sure you will like.